King of Bretonnia.
Does war visit fair Bretonnia this day? It is no longer enough for the dukes to sit idle. It is time for the flower of Bretonnia to unfurl and reveal its thorns. I come to his court with a wealth of knowledge that will aid this errantry war. Like the grail companions of old, the dukedoms of Bretonnia will unite under the banner of their king. Let their enemies feel lance tip and blessed sword. Now is the age of chivalry and greatness. Now is the age of blood and battle.
Right, so hopefully you could hear it that time. Sorry about that, I have no idea what was going on. Sometimes OBS just has a hiccup, and apparently that was one of those times. Good. Thank you everyone who has been following, Uberg, Istar, Dwarf Sparrow, very much appreciate that. And putting Huzzah when some subscribe, that's actually a bad idea. I've been thinking about what sound effect to use. I think I did actually consider it. The problem is, would you be able to differentiate it from actually just going Huzzah? Probably, actually. But yeah, I'll do that after we've finished.
Greetings to you, benevolent Royak. Blessed is your rule over Bretonnia. Yet darkness spreads from abroad and threatens your kingdom. The threat is real. It must be faced. To the east, the greedy merchant princes of Marienburg conspire to consolidate their riches. Observe that much wealth flows into Marienburg, but very little emerges. Further south, in the Grey Mountains, greenskins and dwarfs vie for control of the peaks. Whoever wins may yet cause trouble for you, my lord. Beyond, the wood elves in their mysterious forest protect their homes. Whilst at the coast, the Duke of Bordelot is as unpredictable as the roiling sea, and as secretive as the watery depths. Elsewhere, the unliving lords of Mousillon wage war against mortal men. The bickering dukedoms ignore the looming threat, and so it falls to you to act, my liege. Only a united Bretonnia can face these growing perils. Raise your banner, King Leoncour, and drive this evil from the world in the lady's blessed name. My lord, the Dukes of Bretonnia have resided under a chivalrous code for many years. Honor this tradition, build upon the great foundations of Gilles le Breton, and lead the knightly orders forward to glory.
Alright, so here we have Bretonnia. Land of chivalry, my lord. The Dukes of Bretonnia have resided under a chivalrous code for many years. Honour this tradition, build upon the great foundations of Gilles le Breton, and lead the knightly orders forwards to glory. Attain 400 chivalry and a treasury of 5,000. So yeah, how they play Bretonnia. Honour and chivalry are the driving forces for all Bretonians. Call an errantry war in their defence. Chivalry is increased through noble actions and heroic victories, and lost through dishonourable deeds. Your current chivalry level can be seen in the campaign interface at the top of the screen. That will be right there. There is no greater benefit of chivalry than the assistance of the Green Knight. This legendary hero can be called upon in times to destroy those who oppose you. Peasants form the backbone of your army and economy, so be wary of using up your surplus by enlisting too many. Conquering new regions increases your surplus, enabling you to field more peasants in your armies without suffering a penalty to your farming economy buildings. Your current peasant economy surplus can be seen in the campaign interface at the top of the screen. Yeah, this basically is... So this is like British history, French history, all combined in like a very Arthurian setting. So like the Lady of the Lake, Arthurian. Green Knight, Arthurian. The Knights of the Round Table, Knights of the Realm. The whole idea of chivalry is from King Arthur stories. And then, yeah, we have Louen Leoncour, which is basically Lion the Lionhearted.
You seek counsel?
I wonder if Marienburg's supposed to be Antwerp or Amsterdam. Possibly Antwerp? I mean, I was thinking more like Hamburg or Lübeck. Would be one of the Hansa towns, I would think, because it's more Germanic than Dutch. So you can argue that the Dutch are also Germanic. Anyway, so we have got Louen Leoncour. We have started with some men-at-arms. They're considered expendable. They're poor leadership, so they will be relying on the expanded aura that our generals give. We have a peasant mob that we'll be trying to replace as soon as possible, honestly. Spearmen at arms, anti-large, charge against large foes, expendable. They don't have shields. Neither of these guys have shields. That's interesting. And then peasant bowmen. Do not underestimate how strong Bretonnian archers are. They are extremely strong. They have probably the longest range in the game of any missile unit, except probably for the Wood Elves. And also in the Bretonnian tabletop game, they had a special formation called the Arrowhead Formation. The Arrowhead Formation. Usually in tabletop, if you have units like too deep, then the guys at the back cannot shoot because they can't see the target. But the Bretonnian Arrowhead meant that every single man in that unit could fire, so you can concentrate a ridiculous amount of firepower on enemy units. And also they are longbows, they have an extremely long range. Very, very powerful unit. And then we have the Grail Knights. These are the top tier shock cavalry for Bretonnia. They're armoured and shielded. They are living saints. What exactly does that do? Knights who have sipped from the Grail are elevated above mere mortals. They truly are what is best in men. So I think they probably just have extra leadership because of that, or something like that. I don't know. Oh no, they have the Blessing of the Lady. So they have a 20% physical resistance. Just permanently. And they're immune to psychology, so they will never run away. They can hide, and they are immune to vigor. Are you kidding me? Are all knights? Alright, so they never get tired, they have a resistance to damage, and they will never run. Grail Knights are absurd. I want more. Then we have Knights of the Realm. These are kind of our standard frontline cavalry unit. They are well armoured. They are armoured and shielded, in fact, and they are considered anti-large. They have a charge, so their charge bonus is extremely high, so you use them just to pass through enemy units, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And then we have the Knights Errant. These are the guys that are trying to become Knights of the Realm. They are anti-infantry, and they also have a charge bonus. Well, they're basically weaker Knights of the Realm. And then we have the Pegasus Knights, which are mounted on Pegasi, so they are flying. Grail Knights can run away, they're just immune to fear and terror. Right, that's it. So Unbreakable means I'll never run away. Immune psychology means they're immune to fear and terror. You're right, sorry. Got my terminology mixed up there. So Pegasus Knights are flying. So one of the interesting things about flying units is they don't actually have the fast move. This is a little known thing about Warhammer. If you double right click to tell someone to run, and you race a flying unit and double click, and a flying unit and just single click, they will move exactly the same speed, but the one that you double clicked with will lose more stamina as if they were actually running. So you never want to run flying units. It makes no difference, they just get tired faster. So little tip there for you. And then we have the field trebuchets. These are catapults much like the grudge throwers, but they are much less accurate, but I think they have a longer range. Their range is 440. Most siege engines have a range of about 400. So Bretonnia are all about really long range, but very inaccurate, and then super cavalry. Frontline infantry, not so good. So you kind of want them to hold the line, then hope that your knights can crush the enemy before they break and run. Like I said, we're going to want to replace the peasants as quickly as possible because they have a leadership of 38. They are pathetic. Even versus the men-at-arms, which have 52, versus the knightly 82, or Knights of the Realm 77. There are also questing knights, which sit... So basically there's Knights Errant, Knights of the Realm, questing knights, Grail Knights. So there is a tier above Knights of the Realm, which we haven't got yet. There are certain buildings which I think will allow you to get that. So let's have a look at the building list. So this is in Cologne. This is our capital. It being our capital, is this unlike Norsca where we actually get loads of troops? Yeah, so it is literally just Wulfric who gets no extra troops in his capital. It's so frustrating. At least Cologne is pretty well defended. So in Cologne we can build the unit production places, and actually there's a level 4 barracks which allows us to get foot knights, though it does require a smithy. So there is actually a reason to build the barracks unit in your main settlement, which is interesting. It's an interesting choice. Otherwise, we can just get the men-at-arms, spearmen-at-arms, and we can upgrade it, and then we can get them with shields, which I think will increase their longevity quite dramatically. And then we can also get pole arms. I'm not convinced that we'll need pole arms. I'm not so sure what they will offer us, because anything that they would be doing, which is damage dealing, our knights would do better, and they're armoured, and they have better leadership, and they're mobile. So I'm not so sure about that one. Then we have... but the foot squires could be good. Damage dealer, armour piercing, armoured, and somewhat better leadership. So we might want to get a source of foot knights from foot squires from somewhere. Then we have the stables, which are extremely important for us. So we have the mounted yeomen, shielded, very fast vanguard deployments. These are skirmishers. And we have got mounted yeoman archers, which are skirmisher archers. Then we have the knights errant, who are the low tier cavalry, as I talked about, and the paladin, who is the champion hero, so he's good at killing stuff. Then at the next tier we have questing knights, knights of the realm. Well, really, questing knights and knights of the realm, the same level. That's interesting. Cost 300, cost 250. So knights of the realm are cheaper. And questing knights don't apparently need any other buildings. And it allows recruitment of Grail Guardians. Oh, that's a different unit. I think that's probably the Grail Chapel, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. Then we have got the Pegasus Eyrie, which allows us to get Grail Knights and also the Pegasus Knights, also at the same level. Then the top tier we have the Royal Menagerie, which allows Royal Pegasus Knights and the Royal Hippogriff Knights. These cause terror and their armour piercing. So there is actually a tier of units above Grail Knights. Well, kind of. These are both... No, Hippogriffs are not... Hippogriffs are not, what are they called? Grail, I don't think. No, so Grail Knights and Hippogriff Knights, they do actually fill different roles. Okay, then we have the Carpenter's Workshop at the lowest level, allows us to get Peasant Bowman and also Field Trebuchet. And then the top tier allows us to get the Blessed Field Trebuchet. So an interesting thing about Bretonnia, I am very surprised that they get siege engines. I think in tabletop they don't. They're basically long-range weapons, except for bows, or even bows, in fact, are seen as unholy weapons. Then they're not very honourable to fight with, because you're basically killing your enemy at a distance, which is why peasants use the bows. And that's also why there's no gunpowder. Gunpowder is seen as extremely unholy. So even though the Empire has gunpowder, the Dwarves have gunpowder, the Bretonnia have no gunpowder units whatsoever, because they see it as dishonourable. Bretonnia infantry only run. I don't think that's even going to be possible. Then we have the Grail Shrine, which reduces vampiric and chaos corruption. That is going to be important because we are next to, or nearby, to Mousillon, which is a vampire count settlement. So vampiric corruption is going to be a thing, and then of course later on, so is the other thing, chaos. Grail Shrine provides a garrison of Grail Knights. Interesting. I wonder if that's always true. Yep. That's a ridiculous garrison. Wow, okay. Don't mess with Bretonnian settlements, apparently. Then we get the Grail Chapel, which allows Battle Pilgrims and the Grand Reliquae. I know nothing about either of those units. They are both new units. I've never played with them on the Bretonnian roster. Praying gives a 20% chance of removing a negative character trait of any lord garrisoned within this settlement each turn. So 1 in 5 chance of removing a negative trait. I think they're the only faction that can do that. That's interesting. And they also provide... Is that another Grail Knight or instead of? I think that's probably instead of. Yeah, it's instead of. And then we have the Cathedral of the Lady, which allows recruitment of Grail Guardians, which requires the Royal Stables. That one. So Grail Guardians are a unit we can get. Anti-infantry, armoured and shielded. How are they different from Grail Knights? Blessing of the Lady, immune to psychology, immune to vigour, speed 75, charge bonus 34. I wish there was a way of seeing those side by side. 45 units in a unit, 45 units in a unit, 80, 80, 75, 120, 80. Okay, so Grail Guardians are even better than Grail Knights. Oh my gosh, Bretonnia, this is just going crazy. Alright, then we can also get the smithy, which allows recruitment of the guys with the shield, so that's going to be a very important building to have. And then the armory, which allows the Royal Hippogriff Knights, the Royal Pegasus Knights, and the Pegasus Knights, and also increases recruitment capacity. Okay, and then this is where it gets interesting. So the way that Bretonian industry works is different from everyone else. You can build farms, and you probably should build farms. They produce quite a lot of income, 250 as you can see there, and that is based on the peasant economy, which was mentioned up here. So if we have more than 10 units of peasants in our complete army, then we start suffering penalties because we're basically taking peasants away from the fields. I think Guardians are dismounted Grail Knights. No, I don't think so. Because they had the same movement, didn't they? Grail Guardians, speed 75, Grail Knights, speed 75. Yeah, they are mounted. They're just even stronger than Grail Knights. What are those two up on level 5? These two, we'll talk about those in a minute. Oh, that one. Corone Tournament Grounds. Chivalry plus 20, income generated 1,000, control plus 10, so instead of public order we have control, and then experience plus 2 for all cavalry unit recruits, for all characters. So your entire army is just plus 2. Wow, okay. We want those tournament grounds. We want those as quickly as possible, so we need to grow the capital of Corone. Interesting. Anyway, back to the food production. So you can go up the food line, and to improve the quality of the food line, you can then build windmills, which increases the income from farms by 25% in the entire region, not just in that one settlement. It increases growth, it increases recruitment capacity, but it requires fields, obviously. Fields also allow us to get the peasant bowmen, they allow us to get the peasant mob, peasant bowmen with pox arrows, and peasant bowmen with fire arrows. Oh, those are just yeomen. So this is how we get our peasant units, is through the farming stuff. Or we can get industry, which provides less income but is not subject to the peasant economy. And we can also upgrade it with the cellar, which increases income from industry. It also provides additional ammunition, siege holdout, and also the local recruitment capacity. So it's not quite as strong because it doesn't provide the growth that the windmill does, but if we're in a more industrial area, then we probably want the cellars and the weaving house, etc. However, at level 3 of the industry, income from farms minus 100% from the local region. So you cannot mix farms in one place, industry in another in the same region. You have to pick one or the other and then specialize in that. So that's kind of an interesting mechanic. I think, again, these are the only ones that have that mechanic. I don't remember seeing it for anyone else. We can also get the tap room, which gives us more control and also control in adjacent areas. However, the top tier, the brothel, increases income... Hold on. Oh yeah, but it costs 20 chivalry to actually build. So obviously it's not a very honourable place to go to a brothel, but it does provide a lot of control if you're having control issues. And like I said, control basically replaces public order. So we have the pox shelter, which grants even more growth and also casualty replenishment. I think we probably don't necessarily need this if we are also getting fields. This is probably more to go with the industry, so less useful. And then we have the clay pit, which is special for Corone, which is a special resource which we can then trade. So that generates more income, and it also does pottery resource production. However, it is an industrial building, so if we get to level 3 farming, I suspect we will stop generating income from these. So Bretonnia really isn't very good at industry. And then finally we have the Abbey of the Grail Grail Companions, which gives plus 50 chivalry, recruitment hero rank plus 2 for all paladins everywhere, and then a charge bonus of 10% for cavalry, vigor loss reduction for cavalry, and a melee defense for Grail Vow units. So they've got even more defensive. That's crazy. So I think in Corone we're going to build the 2 level 5s, obviously, so that's those 2 slots. Then we probably want a Grail Chapel, because we're going to be going to the very, very top. So we want a Grail Chapel, we probably want the Royal Menagerie. So that's going to be Grail Chapel, Royal Menagerie, and then I think to get the most out of that Menagerie, we're going to need the smithy. So we'll build the smithy here as well. So we will have to get rid of these units, and we won't be able to get foot squires in Corone. But that's fine. And then we'll basically be relying on Languil for something else. Control could become a no, it won't be a problem here because that provides +10. Alright, so yeah, we want to just blitz up to level 5 as soon as possible. The armory would be good now, maybe? Yes, because it would allow us to get the men-at-arms with shields. Well, once we have the rally field, but I think we're going to have to build the rally field here. Because kind of unfortunately, you are a Bretonnian fishery, which does provide a nice amount of income and growth, I guess, but I kind of like to have the slot for something else, like a windmill. I guess you could tear it down. No, you can't. Has to be there. Interesting. Right, so yeah, smithy. I think the smithy is a reasonable choice. And possibly I kind of want to get cavalry here. But this is for everyone, so it's not necessarily tied to this area. I mean, eventually we will need to level that up, but we don't have much money. In fact, we have almost no money.
Champion of the lady.
So you, old buddy, old chap, old thing, are going to get moving. We do start off at war with Marienburg and with Grungzint. So I think we're going to move up to the border over here, recruit a couple more troops, and then head off and fight them in the next turn. So we can get some more archers, we can get men-at-arms. I'm very tempted to get rid of these two and just replace them with men-at-arms. We can recruit up to 4 units, and we have 2 peasant slots. So I think that's actually the way that we're going to do it. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. So peasant mob, terrible. Then we are going to recruit.
The king stands.
One more of those. One more of those. 2 archers? 2 archers, because archers are awesome. Oh, but we don't have the money for that. In that case, I think I'm going to build something else in Cologne. Because we're going to be stuck with that army for a while. So let's get rid of you, because you are 4,000. We could just upgrade to the rally field. Or we could just not build anything. Because we need the smithy for the rally field to actually be of any use. I'm very tempted to just not build anything here. Let's not build anything, save the money. Which will allow you to recruit
King Louen Leoncour.
Oops, no, another archer. So we're going for a pretty ranged heavy, but it will be the cavalry still that do most of the damage, and trust me, they will do most of the damage. Okay, so the Bretonnian tech tree. We have the chivalric code, which allows more chivalry, also increases leadership and armor for lords and embedded heroes. That can lead to the death script decree. More chivalry for every victory against the undead. So that's against the undead. Ruinous powers is against chaos, against beastmen, against the wood elves, Norsca, greenskins. And then we have the various heraldries, and this will help with confederations. So we've got the heraldry of Artois, for example. Enables the Confederation diplomatic option with Artois, gives us more chivalry and also plus 100 diplomatic relations with Artois. Or we could go for the economic investment, so we get more growth and we get more income from more settlements. Improved trade means more tradable resources and trade income. We don't do industry, so I'm not sure how powerful trade's going to be. More growth in all provinces. Wow, that's quite good, actually. And then subsidized tools is cheaper infrastructure buildings, cheaper recruitment, and more attack for peasant mobs. Well, we're not using those. More chivalry and more control, that's going to be good. Town census, better peasants, and then income from ports and trade. Or we can go for the improved agriculture. More money from farms, cheaper upkeep for infantry units, even more money from farms, even more money from farms. Alright, so there's a lot of farming stuff going on there. Or improved construction, which is reduction in construction time and cost, income from industry, industry and research, industry and recruitment, industry and recruitment. I think we're going to go with the chivalric code, and we're going to try and get as many of these peoples as we can. Oh, there are 2 against greenskins and Norsca. Immunity to snow attrition. Winter woes decree. Oh, that would allow us to actually attack Norsca.